Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. Today I'm making the Steak Nachos Supreme recipe, assembled in the Texan style, which is how we prefer to make it since our visit to beautiful San Antonio a few years ago. At the end of this video, I have a special request and suggestion for your consideration. Now let's begin. The macronutrient ratio for this recipe is an estimate because it will depend on your serving size and what combination and quantity of ingredients your platter has on it. The overall ratio for 10 equal servings is 2.7 to 1 with 5.8 grams of total carbs, 3.8 grams of dietary fiber, and 2 grams of net carbs. To make the Texas-style Nacho Supremes, you will have to make the full quantity of nacho chips as per my recipe. When making these nachos, make sure that the chips are extra thin. This will make the chips crispy and more authentic. Making these extra thin chips is a little more effort, but it's well worth it. It might be a good idea to make the nacho chips a day before. Because the Texas-style Nacho Supremes are served with a few side dishes such as sour cream, salsa, and guacamole, it is also a good idea to make either the smooth or chunky versions of my guacamole and do this ahead of time as well. There will be end links for both the nacho chips and the guacamole recipes. There are many versions of Nacho Supreme, most of which use ground beef, especially the non-Texan versions, but using a steak which you can pan sear and fry to perfection, in my opinion, is a much tastier version. You can use any type of grilling steak you prefer, such as a ribeye, skirt steak, top sirloin, or whatever other kind of steak you like. Before pan searing, make sure your steak has been out of the fridge long enough to come to room temperature. Salt and generously pepper both sides of the steak and set aside. Heat your skillet and then melt the butter in the skillet. Place your steak into the sizzling butter and sear to brown the first side. Continue frying for about 3 to 5 minutes before flipping to the other side, and do the same on the other side. Ideally, the finished steak should be somewhere between medium rare and medium. Don't overcook your steak because you don't want it to be tough and dry. Once you have pan-fried the steak, set it aside until it is completely cooled before you cut it into cubes. Cooling the steak will prevent the juices from leaving the meat, and the meat cubes will be more flavorful and moist. To cut the steak, first cut strips of about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch thick sections. Then cut each length into cubes of about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. Then set this aside. Before starting the assembly process, preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. To assemble the Texas-style Nacho Supremes, place a sheet of parchment onto your baking tray and then place one layer of slightly overlapping nacho chips. Then you're going to add half of each of the ingredients. I began by spreading a layer of grated Monterey Jack cheese. On top of that, I layered grated old cheddar. I then sprinkled the quartered cherry tomatoes and also the finely diced jalapeno peppers. And lastly, half of the beef cubes. And then you simply place the second layer of chips on top and repeat the process of layering everything. When you finish layering, place the baking sheet and its content into the middle position of your oven. Bake for about 5 to 8 minutes, or give it enough time so that the top layer of cheese has melted. Serve this amazing treat while it's still hot. I hope you enjoy this recipe. I have dedicated this recipe to all the people in the Gulf Coast area of Texas and would like to suggest, only if it's right for you, please make a donation to Habitat for Humanity Texas, because so many people will need the help to extensively renovate or completely rebuild their homes. Thank you for your time today. See you next time. The link for the printable recipe is in the description below, as well as the link for Habitat for Humanity Texas.